Welcome. Round 4. Mr. Matrix, welcome back. Please get up and leave your desk now and put your hat on for the podcast. We shower you in ball and all hats, and you can't even put one on for the ball and all podcast. Woody has been dialing into YouTube. He's not happy.
Showering me with gifts, seriously.
Showering you with gifts. So please, we go no further. Okay, as you can see, viewers, he's getting up out of his seat. Okay, see, hang on. There it is. Okay, beautiful. Okay, we're ready to go. Round 4. Firstly, let's have an update on the tipping comp. Can you run us through who tipped the round? So it was $750 cash if you tipped the round last week.
I see you're obviously in a good mood this week because the Dragons didn't play last week.
They won.
No result. So
they won. As far as I'm concerned, they won.
You're up and about.
Yeah, they won.
Obviously.
I won't be up and about this time next week.
Let's hope so. Okay, yes, we did. We had 7 winners, but the 750 didn't go off because we had 7 winners. They tipped all 8 winners. We had Sideline I don't know what it was, BREWME, Beam,
Right,
Saint
okay.
Snow, Ken Beauty, Crispy Crunchy. I like that one.
Crispy Crunchy, yeah. He's been around for a while, yeah.
Eagle Eye and Chaps.
Okay, so the news on that, it'll flow through this weekend, so it'll be $750 again if you can pick the round. Now, I'm surprised that there were 7.
Yeah. Well, I got 7 from 8, so I was close.
Well, you'll do it once in 27 rounds. Well done.
Oh,
I didn't, and if everyone's concerned about my tipping, you need to understand my approach, all right? I'm a change agent. I'm going for upsets.
In other words, it's shit?
No, I'm a change agent. As I said to Woody, because Woody's just he's just so bloody. He's just got the biggest spring in his step because the Tigers are actually winning and the texts are just non-stop. He did want to remind me Monday morning that I was coming 128. Or maybe it was 228.
Yes, I think I'm only 5 spots between me and one of my sons who is in 5 spots in front of me and was gleefully telling me all about that during the week.
And that you have no idea and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, all that rubbish. I heard a media analyst yesterday trying to seriously mount an argument for the West Tigers making the top 4.
Top 4? Was it Brent Reid?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Because he's a dead set donkey, so it wasn't him. Really? Top 4?
Yeah, top 4.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. They're off with the Pixies. Okay, so and let's just run through the tipping comp. Where are we at? Who's out and about there? Run us through the top couple.
Well, we've got 4 at the top of the table. Congratulations to them. That's Chiphead.
Chiphead, right?
I think Chiphead played last year. I know who Chiphead is. Pipster, another long-term reading to play man. Cedo. And REM. He must be a fan of the band from the 70s and 80s, REM. So we've got 4, Chiphead, Pipster, Cedo and REM. They're leading the top of the table. I got to tell you, though, there's a lot of people, only 1 tip behind them. So it's very, very competitive at the top of the table. Lots of action happening. And we have 40 left in the last man standing.
40, so we dropped 7.
We dropped 7.
40, okay, righto. And I reckon I know 30 of that 40.
Oh, do you? Well, it's going to be getting harder for them because it's not straightforward to try and find that standout this week, especially if they were a team that you played with or around in the last couple of weeks. So that's getting very interesting as well.
Okay, beautiful. Righto, well, there's a fair bit to go through into round 4. I think as we've sort of predicted, the competition is really, really tight. Like there's well, I think in respect to, I think the big thing for me in the first 3 weeks, which is really displaying a, I don't know, I don't particularly like it, but I think it can really turn the game very, very quickly, is the the six agains that the referees are happy to run with.
I was having a really good day until you brought this shit up.
No, okay, but the reason I want to touch on the fact that I think the comp is quite even and how much it can turn on a dime is the best example that we've seen was that Canberra Manly game. Canberra were probably having the better of it at 0-0. You get a guy who's not warned, and I hate agreeing with Sticky, but I think to a certain degree he had some really, really valid points, even though they're not really allowed to talk about it these days. Horsburgh's sin bin. And then I can't remember. I think you and I spoke about it on Monday. I think maybe it was at six agains in quick time, and all of a sudden they're down by 18. Game's over.
So quickly going through a couple of key stats. Like we're 3 games into it, but the season looks so much like 2021, which was the COVID season, and also the season where our wonderful executive and the NRL execs decided to introduce rules on the run and artificially try and influence the game and speed up the game. And
the biggest one was 6 again.
And it was a complete fucking debacle of a season, and we ended up with massive lopsided games and points everywhere. There were some smart teams at the top of the table who were the stronger sides who worked out quickly how to try and dominate with that. If we were to take a short sample of the first 3 weeks, and I'm hopeful that in the background the NRL are going to start to cramp down on this and maybe tighten up some influence. But if we take the sample of the first 3 weeks, that's where we are again. We're back in 2021. Now, I must say, for any of our listeners who like to dig into this stuff, there is a data analyst who writes on Twitter and a number of other social media places and on his own website called the Rugby League Eye Test. He uses the end data that all of the clubs get to then accurately look at, analyse and forecast a lot of these trends that are in the game. And he did a deep dive analysis into this last weekend and then wrote an outstanding article yesterday that I would suggest people go looking for it. So that's the Rugby League Eye Test. But again, he showed points in the game on an average now, Stephen, are up 6 points a game on last year. 6 points in total in a game on last year. 6 agains have ballooned, as you suggest. What we're actually seeing is this artificial influence.
Well, I think the 6 agains is a real indication of referees that just don't want to blow penalties. So they take their easy options. You go 6 again, 6 again, 6 again, and all of a sudden you got 6, 12, 18, 24, 32 tackles on your line.
Well, the key thing that's changed is the majority of 6 agains in the first 3 rounds are occurring within your final 15 metres of the try line.
Yeah.
So if we go back to last week, so the Raiders were under pressure from the Eagles with constant set after set after set after set.
Yep.
And I have to say that there are coaches that are coaching to slow down the play of the ball, lie all over the ruck, and instead of blowing a penalty, what the referees are doing is resorting to these 6 agains.
Yeah, and prepared to back themselves for another 6 tackles.
Yep. And I personally, I hate the negative tactics of lying all over the ruck and slowing the play of the ball down and all that sort of rubbish. But what I want the referees to do is actually blow the penalty. Penalty, make the warning early. Let's not go through 3 or 4 or 5, 6 agains. Let's jump on it early, and if need be, then do the sin bin quickly and get the message out there. That game just ended up. We ended up with one team making 70 tackles and one team making 220 by half time. That's not a contest. That's not rugby league.
It's crazy. Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think unfortunately, Mr. Volandis needs to get in the room and make some hard decisions, and it needs to go. Right,
so
let's go into
have you got DCE to sign at the Eels?
Let's go into the first game. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Rabbitohs versus the Panthers.
You don't want to talk about the DCE saga?
Yeah, we will when we get to Manly.
Oh, okay, right.
Or to the Eels or the Dragons or wherever he's going to turn up. But he's not. Well, he's not going to the. Well, my understanding is he's not going to the Panthers. He's not going to the Rabbitohs. So we don't need to talk about him in this game. All right. Okay. So So I think a bit of a not so much a return to form, but a reality check for the Rabbitohs last week, coming up against, I think, a side in the Sharks that will definitely be top four, and were way better, and probably fabricates the Rabbitohs form, I think, in the first couple of rounds. And they're going to go now back-to-back hard game up against the Panthers. And it's a home game for the Rabbitohs. Panthers very short.
Yeah, they are. We'll do a check-in, one of those little Monday check-ins in a couple of weeks' time, but very quickly, because it does come out with one of these teams. To your earlier point a couple of minutes ago, I personally think that we have three teams at the top of the table. And I think that there's a distinct gap between the three of them. And I think that that's clearly the Storm.
Yep. Panthers.
Then the Panthers.
Yep.
Then the Sharks.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a distinct gap to the Broncos.
Tigers. Sorry. Yeah.
And then I think it falls away. And I'm not convinced about the Broncos yet. And I think we'll get to the Eagles in a moment, that all of what's going on there could derail their season. So we're back to a pointy end of probably three quality forward teams. Speaking of the Panthers, who would have thought off their opening 3 weeks, they've leaked 30, 38 and 22. I think, though, with Cleary going out last week with that head knock after about 20 minutes when they were down 14 points, they actually really pulled together as a unit and started to show some of that belief and teamwork and unity and direction and all of the strengths that we know that they've got. They've got depth. They turn up here off 2 losses. I really do expect a rebound. I'm sure the focus is going to be about defence. And against the Rabbitohs, you're right. I mean, they're 2-1. It's amazing that they actually are 2-1 off all of the injury outs that they've got. They were down 27-0 last week, and it should have ended up 40-0. They got 2 late tries to make it look a little bit closer. Their record against the Panthers is poor. Lost 12 of their last 14 against the Panthers. I'm with the Panthers. The market is 10.5. I actually think that's generous. I'm closer to 14.
They'll cover. Panthers will cover that one, though.
I'm closer to 14. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We go into Friday night, 6 p.m. So the early game. It is the Roosters versus the Titans. I think this will be a cracking game, actually. After seeing the bipolar Titans, so what we would like to see last weekend. I mean, have you seen a better game from a front rower? I haven't seen a better game from front rower like Tino in a long time.
Outstanding, wasn't he? Outstanding. I'll tell you what, the other bloke in the front row with him was in Futuaka, was also outstanding, but Tino was just brilliant. And also, Stephen, today's game is often just about the front row running the football, and we saw that from Payne Haas last Friday night with that big try for the Broncos. But Tino's 2 offloads, one led to a try, one led to being called back. To see a big front rower, and one was on the right side of the field, one was on the left side of the field. To see him so skilled with such a big body, to be doing that as well as a lot of those tough runs and some of the physical defence. I agree.
But what about the work rate for such a big boy? Like, his work rate's ridiculous.
How did the Storm let him go? I know it's a matter of cap and balance and that sort of stuff.
They had a crack.
But, I know he's highly paid now and he's got a 10-year deal at the Titans, as he should. He's an outstanding front rower and an outstanding leader. I think the Titans have got a task here because their record when they travel is horrible. It's only 8 wins of the last 45 away games. That's just horrible. I've got no trust when they then go on the road, and you add to that they've got these 4 outs because they now have the fullback, young Kinney, who I think's been very good for them.
Isn't that disappointing hearing that today? He's got a neck injury. He could be out for quite some time.
Yeah, it is. And, on the back of that, they've got, Foran on the bench, Big Jolliffe, the try-scoring winger in Campiara. That's 4 very key outs for them. Get the Roosters down in Sydney. Titans have never played at Allianz, yet they've lost 11 straight to the Roosters. Roosters off 2 losses. A loss last week. They beat the Panthers the week before, but they're back at home where they are very good. Important game for them. very important game for them. They're 1-3, but they are getting guys back each week. It's probably their strongest list this season to date. Don't trust the game entirely. I'd love to see the Titans throw a little bit of attack at this and upset the Roosters' rhythm, but certainly with the Roosters, the market's 6.5. I'm about the same. I think the Roosters squeak home.
So line ball on covering the start.
Yeah, I'm a similar number, so I stayed out.
Okay, we go to the Brisbane Derby. It's a Dolphins home game. Gee, I tell you what, they need a bit of a leg up after last week. Starting the season very, very ordinary for a side that we sort of picked might squeak into the 8. They need to get cracking. They're 0-3, led easily over the Tigers last week and couldn't get it done up against the Broncos at Suncorp.
So, Stephen, at the end of the podcast, I'm going to ask you a key question.
Look forward to it.
Which do we get a dead cat bounce this week? So we've got 3 dead cats at the bottom of the table, who are the Dolphins, the Cowboys, and the Eels. Do we get one of them?
What about the Dragons?
The Dragons are dead cats. Well, they're none from 2. The others are none from 3. So maybe
we lost the bye. We're none from 3. As far as
yeah, that's true. So the key is, do we get an upset from one of them? I don't think we get it here.
I don't think we get it here, yeah.
Dolphins have been incredibly disappointing. I thought that they were the key play last week. They were my only loser. And at 18-6 at halftime, I was really comfortable with myself. I thought they were strong through the middle. The attitude looked good. They were dominating yardage. The 7 was playing very well. Farnworth was brilliant. And then they just completely dropped their bundle, and the game management was poor. They went away from what they were doing so well with the football, but their self-errors and then their defence, Broncos, I'm still not convinced about how good the Broncos' form might be at the present moment. I've got questions there as well. But I guess at home, it's interesting with the Broncos, they get 2 derbies in a row. They get Cowboys last week and then the Dolphins this week. It'll be a full house.
I can't see this cat bouncing, unfortunately. What is it about does he leave a virus when he leaves, or what does Bennett do? I know you're a big rap on Christian Wolf as a coach, and I've got no doubt that he can coach, but every time Bennett leaves a joint, it's so hard for the coach to back up, isn't it?
I was having this conversation with somebody today, and we're just talking about the fact that Bennett has this aura of being able to get into players' heads. And, that Dolphins team last year would not have lost that game last year. At 18-6
I don't think they would have lost. I don't think they'd be 0-3. I think they'd be more two out of 3.
Yeah, I think 2 out of 3.
I think it probably highlights something that we did touch on mid last year and then late last year when the deal was done for Bennett to return to South. So I think they've done a lot of good things, the Dolphins management, in coming into the competition, but that was one absolute major fuck up.
Absolutely.
He should still be sitting there in Redcliffe, and they should have just walked. They should have just walked Christian Wolf in and just said, "Look, yes, we have an agreement. You're moving to head coach after 2 years, but you will move to head coach when we decide now. When Wayne decides to hang it up in 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, you'll be head coach if you want to hang around." And that's all they had to do.
I agree with that, but I think the problem was even earlier than that. What they should have done is just given him an open-ended contract. They signed him for 3 years. It just should have been, here's a contract, Wayne, and you're coach until you tell us you don't want to be coach.
100%.
None of this understudy bullshit.
A bit like DCE. Just tell us when you want to pull up stumps.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get to DCE.
Listen, the Dolphins are in dire straits now because they've done so well in the last 2 years with their
membership, got injuries,
their following. They're just not looking like a football team at the moment.
Okay, Saturday we have one of the cats that we're not sure is alive, hoping that it might bounce. Dragons versus the Storm. It is another home game for the Dragons. Gee, they need a good performance after the last couple of weeks, and apparently they didn't perform too well during the bye. We've got Dylan Egan coming in, debut. Couple of changes down at the Storm. Obviously, the most notable is Tyron Wishart's in at halfback. Jerome Hughes, broken hand, out for a little bit. But their pack is, as it was in the last couple of games, Bronson Garlick onto the bench. So, I don't know.
Well, it's interesting here because you got Hughes
Well, sorry,
out.
I do know what's going to happen here. Yeah.
Big Nelson's out. Meany's out with a fractured jaw. And there is still a little
Nelson's
bit of question.
got a hard head, hasn't he?
He has got a hard head. There's also a little bit of doubt about whether Pappenhausen plays. So that depth gets tested. They've also now, at the present moment, missing Fa'alongo. So they don't have him to call off the bench. But as you suggest, they've got Wishart in the team. Garlick's there. I mean, the one thing about the Storm that we've been talking about for months is their depth. Off the back of those outs, I think this is all about defence. Steve, there's up to 40 to 50 mils of rain forecast for Saturday in and around Cogra. So if that rain comes...
You're a weather reporter now as well.
Mate, listen, if you're looking at putting hard money down...
Can you come down here and have a look at the low pressure systems we get around here? Is this a low pressure system? Where's it? Is it coming off? Is it coming off Tasmania? Can you talk us through the angles?
I did my 4-hour master's degree on cyclone and weather management a couple of weeks ago. So,
well, that was in Brisbane. This game's at Jubilee.
Yeah, so I've been looking at the weather forecast. No, there is a lot of rain seriously forecast, so that could have some influence here.
That's good for the Dragons. I like that. That's
what
good.
I'm saying to you.
Yeah,
it might.
Don't pick them. Don't pick them.
Oh, fucking, I'm no way of picking them.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, this is an upset.
See, I said 2 weeks ago that I was giving a last chance to the 2 Ds. And that was the Dolphins and the Dragons. Well, I can tell you this week, I've put the 2 Ds in the bin.
Thank fuck for that, because every time you tip the Dragons, they get beaten. Okay, listeners, I know you agree with me. Okay, so you're picking the Storm. Are they going to cover the start?
How the fuck did the Dragons get beat in that game?
Shush. We don't have to talk about that. Are they going to cover the start, the Storm?
Yes.
8.5. They're covering it.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we go on to Saturday, 5:30, the early game. Ricky will be looking for a bounce back after that performance. And, talk about another Queensland team that needs to win, the Cowboys. Level pegging this one. I think this will be a really, really good contest. Cowboys sort of looked like there was some green shoots in that last performance. And the Raiders, we've sort of discussed what happened there. How do you see this one?
Well, who would have thought week 4 that we're talking about the Cowboys being a dead cat? I mean, they're none from 3. They were much better last week. It was a better list. They were more physical. They took the game to the Broncos. But, their self-errors just absolutely cost them. It was 12-all there, and they were a chance of actually getting in front. Back at home, but they lost here 2 weeks ago. Surely there's got to be some desperation about what they're doing this week. They really need a win. Actually have a very good record against the Raiders. They've won the last 6 straight.
And I think they get this one.
The Raiders have only won 1 of their last 5 in Townsville. I think the other key question about the Raiders for mine, Stephen, is that they go to Los Angeles, then they play at home, then they go to Brookvale last week, then they go to Townsville this week. That's a bit of travel. They're still without Hoskins and they're now without Smithers.
Smithers.
They do get Tarpany back, which is a big in. I reckon this looks a tough physical game. This is a really good physical matchup here. I've got a small lean to the team at home because they are at home and they've had that positive record over them and up there, but they desperately need a win.
Yeah, I think Cowboys get this one. That's what I think. Righto, this one is, for me, it's a game I really want to watch on the weekend. The 7:30 game, Sharks at home again against the Doggies. Now, the Doggies, as we know, just one stat for you, Mr. Matrix. I'm not sure if you're up to speed with this one. The Eels versus the Bulldogs was the most minutes in play, ball in play this year. Very, very high. Dogs definitely, I think if Moses was on the field, the Dogs probably get beaten last week. A few outs still up against the Sharks side that I think are starting to look really, really polished.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, to the Bulldogs' defence, they're also missing, and it's really hurting them, Burton and Kikau and Hughes up front and Kiro's on an edge. That was a good, tough contest, that. There was, as you suggest, a lot of time with the ball, which ended up turning it into a lot of physical work either side of the football. And I just wonder if that takes a little bit of a toll on both those teams this week. Other question mark about the Bulldogs is they've got a really poor head-to-head record against the Sharks, lost 6 of their last 7. And one of the key things we talked about the Bulldogs last year was even though they were in the top 6, was that their record against the top 8 sides or the top 6 sides was very poor. And one of those is the Sharks. At Shark Park, I want to wait and see the final teams because there's...
Do you think there's going to be some change-ups?
Well, Hamlin Ueli is out.
Yeah.
Talakai came off with a limp, so there's a question mark. He's named, but there's a question mark. And Hazelton's also named, who was out last week. I think Hazelton plays. If they're close to full strength...
Still a very strong side, even if they had those guys out.
I think they dominate through the middle. And I think they win either way. I guess what I'm suggesting is that if they're close to full strength, I think they also cover the line.
I reckon they could be... I'm thinking they could win by sort of 14, 16.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the line there?
Yeah, well, obviously, if you'd had a look, it's actually 11.5. So.
No, I just want to check if it's changed. So they cover the line because they're going to win by 14.
That's right.
Your maths is good. You don't have a degree in maths. Okay, Sunday, 4 o'clock. Okay, DCE's Eagles. He's there for this year. Where he's going, we're not quite sure. Up against the Eels. Now, form line here, I think the Eagles, obviously at home, that home ground record's pretty bloody damn good, and last weekend it was excellent. They really put on some points. Eels, way better performance last week. Execution really let them down, but application was there. Attitude in defence way better. Just couldn't execute in attack. Oh, Eagles $1.15. Eels $5.50. How do we see this one playing out?
What a debacle this DCE mess is. How do you let a current Origin player who's in outstanding form, who's had 15 years at your club, who's only missed 23 games in 15 years, how do you not resolve that negotiation and ensure that he's at your club? It is just absolute fuck up of the best kind.
I think to answer your question there, I think it's pretty simple, isn't it? That there's obviously some sort of issue, friction, fallout, whatever you want to call it, with Mestroff, the CEO, and DCE. And it's obviously just hasn't come about in the last 4 or 5 days. And I would say the way it's played out is that DCE is like, well, fuck this. I'm not hanging around. And maybe he's taken pay cuts on that last extension. That seems to be the talk. And
yes.
I'm not a huge DCE fan, but I tell you what, I think this is real simple. When you got a player who's played the best part of 15 years, given that sort of service to your club, he's missed 23 games in that period, and he's still playing absolutely out of his backside. How is he not $1 million player if we're going to write checks of 1.3 for Dylan Brown?
And he doesn't want $1 million.
Yeah, Mestroff's off his head. So where he goes, I think will be super interesting.
Over the Harbour Bridge.
I think that's what it sounds like. Yep, I think that's what it sounds like, and I'd love to see him go over there and succeed. And
I think that might have been sorted 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, okay, righto. We don't have to say anything more than that. Righto, so...
Yeah, well, listen, I like you. I thought the Eels were very credible in terms of attitude and effort. I thought Hawkins made a big difference. The kicking game was better and their field possession was much better. Stephen, the obvious problem is their points in attack. 8 last week, 6 the week before.
They need Mitchell Moses back,
Yeah. And mate, going to Brookvale against this team, they need 30 points to be in the game. I can't see that happening.
So what's the start, 18, 19, 20?
18.5. And the total points in the game is 55.
Oh, you think it's going to be over that?
Well, I thought 50 was too high last Sunday, and it went well over 50. And that was against the Raiders. So they've had 2 games at Brookvale and scored 42 and 40. Turbo's back. They've got strikes. They've got points. They win. They cover the line.
Okay. Righto. So they're going to cover 18.5. Okay. Righto. Can't argue with that. I think it'll be close for a period of time. That's my call. Where it ends up, not sure. Okay, Sunday night, I think this is Please Come Back to Earth, the Little Tigers. I think they've had quite a few bounces of the ball go their way in the last couple of weeks. They are up against the Warriors with Dylan Walker jumping on a jet plane this morning and moving to the Eels. A noticeable out there. Pretty short for the Tigers, $1.62. Not many changes to their side. Again, they've got some stability in their starting 13, which remains the same for, I think this is the third week in a row. So that's good for Benji. But
I think they've got a couple of guys named that have to be significantly in doubt. I mean, Skelton. Well, Skelton limped off last week with what looked a crook leg injury. He's been named. The back rower, number 11, Samueli Fanui, also looked like he had some injury issues. He's been named. So let's wait and see the final named teams. I just question the depth, Stephen. I just think if we look back in weeks to come that the Dolphins and the Parramatta Eels game are just not strong form lines. But what about on the other side, Warriors form line? I thought that was a pretty good win against the Roosters. Yeah, I mean, but for the Dolphins completely crumbling last week, were the Tigers really that good? I know they scored some attractive points, but I thought the opponent was really poor. The Warriors come off 2 wins. They've improved their defence. It's 6-16 the last 2 weeks. No RTS, but they've got some depth. Outside of he and a winger, they're full strength, big physical through the middle, which I think is the difference here. I like their yardage. I like those strengths. Going to Campbelltown, that's no major fear. Their record there is good. I'm very surprised at the market. The market has the Tigers -4.5. That just amazes me. I'm the other way. I'm certainly with the Warriors. Tips for the week: Panthers by 18, Roosters by 8, Broncos by 14, Storm by 10, Cowboys by 2, Sharks by 14, Eagles by 18 or more, Warriors by 8. I thought the best were the first and the last games. I think the Panthers can cover the line against the Rabbitohs, and I think the Warriors with the +4.5 looks very generous against the Tigers.
Right. Okay. And what's the question on the dead cats?
Okay, so is there a dead cat going to bounce? Is one of the Dragons, the Cowboys, the Eels, or the Dolphins going to win?
No, I don't think we'll have any.
Okay,
I think they'll all be pancakes again, lying flat on their back.
So we're going into week. I think you're right, and I agree with you. We're going to week 5 with 4 teams yet to knock up a win.
Yeah, I can't see any of those, but I'd love to see it, but I can't see any of those upsets. My multi, see if you agree, on a little bit of a roll here, is Roosters outright, into Storm outright, into Parramatta Eels with 18.5 start, into Warriors with 4.5 start. Paying $7.72.
Okay.
I know you don't like the Eels part of that, but
I thought you had respect for your money.
We will talk. We might even do a recap on Sunday night because I think that multi will win.
Okay.
What's your best bet?
Best is the Warriors.
Warriors with start
+4.5.
Yes, I like that. I agree with you, and I love the fact that we have a week into week 4 where you have not picked the red bee. This is good. Just keep it that way for the rest of the year.
I'm telling you, it'll probably be for most of the season.
That's good. I'm telling you, next time you pick them, I can dial in. It's over.
They're in the bin. Now, folks, don't forget, you got the tipping comp this week. Come up with 8 winners on your own. So you might need a tippy toe with it, one upset. Be on your own. It's $750.
So hang on. Let's repeat this. If you pick the round this week and you're by yourself, it's $750 cash.
That's
$750 cash. Okay,
now,
and we got 40 people still in the last man standing, and that's I think it's $2,500, isn't it, to the winner?
That's right. Yeah, something like that.
$2,500 to the winner. Okay, righto.
So I reckon there's 6 favourites that win. So your 2 dicey games are going to be Cowboys Raiders.
Yes, agree.
And Tigers Warriors.
Yes, agree.
So,
and then if you really want to pick the round, you got to go the upset of one of those 4 dead cats, and it could be the Dragons.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that it's straightforward around all of those. So, yeah, interesting week.
I'll tell you what would be a good upset, and I reckon this is where somebody could pick the round, is if the Eels beat the Eagles. Because I don't think many people would go that.
If the Eels beat the Eagles at Brookvale... No, I'm not being smart. Off 5 days or 6 days after DCE says he's leaving, mate, they will tear the joint down.
Yeah, that's true. Mestrov probably wouldn't have a job come Monday, I'd imagine.
Yeah. No, I'm here for it. I'm here for the upset.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, that'd be a ripper.
Righto, thank you for your time. Good to see you got the hat on. I can report back to Woody. And we'll see if the Tigers get a wake-up call against the Warriors.
Be good.
Okay, see you, mate.